There are a lot of rituals from food, music, decorations that are so wonderful that help us grieve. I am here to encourage you, whether you're Mexican or not, or whether you feel comfortable or not adopting the whole thing, to try to establish some of these behaviors to help you with your grief. Welcome to Therapy Explained, where we explain, demystify, and destigmatize mental health and mental health treatment. My name is Deniss. I'm the therapist of color for people of color and your very own mental health cheerleader. As you may already know, every video comes with its own cheat sheet that I make available to you on Instagram. If you didn't know that, make sure that you're following me there at Talk Therapy so that you can have access to yours. Today, we're going to be talking about habits from Dia de los Muertos, traditions from Dia de los Muertos that help us grieve. Now, Dia de los Muertos is a Mexican holiday that is celebrated over 2 days, November 1st and November 2nd, to honor the memories of the people that we have lost. There are a lot of rituals from food, music, decorations that are so wonderful that help us grieve. I am here to encourage you, whether you're Mexican or not, or whether you feel comfortable or not adopting the whole thing, to try to establish some of these behaviors to help you with your grief. And also not just in November, but throughout the year. Particularly as we get closer to the holidays, if you've experienced a recent loss, or not necessarily recent, if you have a loss that you've experienced, it might be more difficult to you during the holidays. So some of these habits might be very helpful for you as we get closer to them. So let's just go ahead and jump into some habits from Dia de los Muertos that can help you manage your grief. Dedicated grieving time. It helps for us to know that we are able to express and talk about and show our grief, our sadness, even some happiness that come around a loss. Knowing that we have that space and making use of that space can make it easier for us throughout the day. If you find that you're bursting into tears throughout the day, it might be helpful for you to set a time aside specifically for your grief. Whether that's just to think about the person that you've lost or to cry, it is okay. It can make it easier for you to get through your day without feeling emotionally overwhelmed. Creating rituals. As I mentioned, for Dia de los Muertos, we use our flor de cempasúchil, we put flowers on there, we put anything to represent each of the elements. So air, which is why sometimes you see that papel picado. You put a little bit of water for, water, and the flowers usually represent the soil, and there's also food, and I think fire, we have the candles for fire. So it's all a ritual. There's things that you're supposed to put up there, things that go up there, and again, this is very specific to Mexican culture. But if you can develop a ritual for you that fits your culture or things that you feel comfortable with, this can be very helpful for your grief. Not just having that dedicated time, but also on top of that, knowing what you're going to do with that time. Now that can be lighting a candle, taking out a picture, or listening to that person's favorite song. Again, whatever feels natural to you and whatever feels comfortable to you as a ritual for that specific time that you've set aside for your grief. Telling stories. One of the things that we tend to do for Dia de los Muertos is talk about the person. Now this can be incredibly scary and painful if it's a recent loss, and again, even not necessarily a recent loss. It's hard to talk about the person that we lost because it kind of highlights the fact that they're not here anymore, at least not physically. But if we can practice telling stories about who they were and the experiences that we had with them, it helps keep them alive. It helps remind ourselves that even though they're no longer here physically with us, they still shaped who we are. They still added to our lives, and we can honor that by talking about them. This is up to you if you feel comfortable talking to your friends about it or your family about it. maybe someone who knew this person as well. Or if you're not ready for that yet and feel like you just want to sit with it on your own for a while, you can do that too. Just think back on memories, think back on experiences with this person. Again, this can be used during your dedicated grieving time or outside of it, or maybe even today during Dia de los Muertos. Talk about that person, honor that person, and again, remember that just because they're gone physically doesn't mean they're really gone in your heart or in your life. Allow room for happiness. Dia de los Muertos, yes, is about grief, but also about celebrating the people that were in our lives, being thankful and being happy for the happiness and the memories and the experiences that person brought to our lives. So leaving room for happiness can be something that we can practice. And again, not just for Dia de los Muertos, whether you celebrate it or not, but throughout the year. Making room to remember the laughter that you shared with this person, or even allowing yourself to be happy is okay. Know that you are not betraying this person's memory by allowing yourself to have new experiences that bring you joy. There is healing in grieving. Now, I know that this isn't so much a habit as it is more of a lesson. Dia de los Muertos teaches us that there is courage in being able to grieve, that it is scary to go back there to this really painful place, but when you do it, there's also healing in it. And yes, it takes courage, it takes bravery to go there, to live there, to look at this loss, to face this loss. But there's also so much healing in it, and it doesn't always have to be sadness and depression. As you can tell, in Dia de los Muertos, there's also a lot of color, there's a lot of music, there's food, because it's not all sad. Again, there is healing in grief. There is healing in this vulnerability. So allow yourself to have that space. Again, not just today, but every day. And I also encourage you to try some of these things. As we get closer to the holidays, it might be a little bit more difficult, and also be mindful of any anniversaries. So when birthdays come around, or the anniversary of that person's death, or that person's birthday, or the day that you found out that that person passed away, then you might start to feel some dysregulation. Some people report that they start feeling irritable or sad or just depressed overall, even a month before. Just anticipating that this thing is coming up can really activate a lot of uncomfortable feelings. So be mindful of that as well. If you start to feel off, ask yourself, could this be an anniversary that's coming up of, again, is it because it's my birthday? Is it their birthday? Is it the day that I lost them? Is it a holiday that's coming up? What's going on for me? And try to engage in some of these habits to help the grief feel lighter. Your cheat sheet is already available to you on Instagram, so hop on over there to get access to it. But as always, before you do, please give this video some love in any way that feels authentic to you. Every comment, like, subscription, and share helps spread the word about free mental health information and education, and it is always greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I'm cheering for you.